The cafeteria went silent. Forks froze mid-air. Conversations stopped. Everyone turned toward the little girl sitting alone at the far end of the lunch table. Her small hands folded tightly as if holding the world together. Tears glistened in her eyes as she whispered, "Please, God, please, let them sit with me at lunch today." Then, out of nowhere, the doors swung open. A tall, elderly woman no one had ever seen before walked in. Her silver hair shining under the fluorescent lights, her eyes kind but knowing, as if she'd seen this moment before. She moved slowly, gracefully, through the rows of staring children, her eyes locked on the little girl. And then, in a voice that silenced even the whispering bullies, she said, "Is this seat taken?" The cafeteria gasped. The little girl looked up, confused. Nobody had ever asked to sit with her before. Not once. But before she could answer, the woman's hand trembled as she placed her tray down. Something about her seemed familiar, too familiar. And then, just as the little girl was about to ask who she was, the woman's sleeve slid back, revealing a faded hospital bracelet. That was when everything changed. We share powerful stories that uncover hidden truths and challenge perspectives. Subscribe to stay updated, share to keep others safe, and comment where you're watching from. Earlier that morning, 8-year-old Amara Williams woke up before her alarm. The sunlight peeked through her thin pink curtains, painting soft stripes across her room. She stared at the ceiling, her small fingers tracing invisible shapes on her blanket. Today was supposed to be special, her school's Friendship Day. Teachers had called it a day of unity, where everyone was encouraged to sit with someone new at lunch. But Amara didn't believe that. She'd heard it before. Last year, the same speeches, the same smiles, the same promise that everyone belongs. Yet every lunch, she still found herself sitting alone. The other girls in her class, Haley, Madison, and Claire, always giggled when she walked past their table. They'd scoot closer together, whispering things she tried not to hear. Why does she always sit by herself? She smells weird. She's just different. Different. That word followed her everywhere. She looked into the mirror that morning, brushing her tight curls into 2 puffs, just like her mama liked them. "You look beautiful, baby," her mama always said. But at school, the word beautiful never followed her. Only different. Her mama, Tasha, was already in the kitchen making pancakes before her shift at the diner. "You ready for Friendship Day, Sweet Pea?" she asked, flipping a pancake with one hand while fixing Amara's backpack with the other. Amara shrugged. "I guess." Tasha kneeled beside her daughter. "Hey," she said softly, touching her chin. "Don't let nobody tell you who you are. Okay? You walk in there with your head high. God's got a plan for you." Amara nodded, but her eyes stayed down. When the bus pulled up, she climbed in quietly, taking her usual seat near the back. She watched the other kids laugh and swap snacks, their backpacks bumping together like they were all part of a world she didn't belong to. At school, the walls were covered with colorful posters that read "Be kind," and "Friendship starts with you." Teachers greeted students with smiles, but Amara noticed how those smiles faded when certain kids like her, walked by. During recess, she sat on the swing set, kicking at the dirt, watching the other girls form circles that she was never invited into. Her teacher, Mrs. Blake, called out cheerfully, "Remember, everyone, today, no one eats alone." Amara wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, today would be different. But when lunch came, her heart began to sink. The cafeteria buzzed with laughter and chatter, kids sliding trays next to their friends, trading snacks, taking selfies. Amara scanned the room. Every table was full except the one at the back. Her table. She carried her tray there anyway, trying to smile, trying not to let anyone see the tears forming. She sat down quietly, unfolding her napkin like her mama taught her, whispering a tiny prayer before eating. "Dear God," she murmured, "please, let them sit with me at lunch today. Please." At another table, Haley looked over, whispering to her friends. "She's talking to herself again," she snickered. Madison covered her mouth, giggling. probably asking her imaginary friends to join her. Amara lowered her head, pretending she didn't hear. Her hands trembled as she picked up her fork. That's when she heard the doors creak open. A strange hush fell over the cafeteria. Everyone turned. An elderly woman, wearing a soft blue coat and carrying a tray, walked in slowly. The lunch lady froze mid-motion, her eyes wide, as if she'd seen a ghost. The woman didn't belong there. She wasn't a teacher, not a parent. She looked out of place, yet somehow, as she walked, the light from the windows seemed to follow her. Step by step, she moved through the rows of children, her kind eyes searching, until they landed on Amara. Amara blinked. She didn't know whether to smile or run. The woman's voice was calm, yet powerful. "Is this seat taken?" Amara's throat tightened. "And no, ma'am," she whispered. The woman smiled. "Good. I've been looking for you." A murmur swept through the room. Haley whispered, "Who is that?" Madison frowned. "Maybe she's her grandma or something." But Amara didn't have a grandma. At least, not one she'd ever met. The woman set her tray down gently and sat beside her. Her hands, wrinkled and delicate, reached for Amara's trembling fingers. "You don't have to eat alone anymore, sweetheart," she said softly. Amara's chest ached. "Why?" she asked. "Nobody ever wants to sit with me." The woman smiled, her eyes glistening. "Because sometimes it takes one act of kindness to change everything." Then, as Amara looked down, she noticed the woman's bracelet. A faded hospital tag with a date that made no sense. The year printed on it was 1978. Before she could ask anything, the woman's hands began to tremble, her eyes closing for a moment as if she were remembering something painful. "Are you okay, ma'am?" Amara asked quietly. The woman opened her eyes slowly and whispered, "You remind me of someone I lost." The cafeteria fell silent again. Even the bullies stopped whispering. And then, before Amara could speak, the woman's tray slipped from her hands and crashed to the floor, food scattering across the tiles. Gasps filled the air. Teachers rushed forward, but the woman didn't move. Her gaze stayed fixed on Amara, her lips parting as if she were about to say something that could change everything. But before she could, she fainted. Screams echoed across the cafeteria. Teachers shouted for help. The nurse came running with a wheelchair. Amara stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't know who the woman was, but somehow, she felt like this was meant to happen. As they lifted the woman from the floor, her bracelet slipped off her wrist and rolled under Amara's table. She picked it up, her tiny hands trembling as she turned it over. It wasn't just a hospital tag. There was something written on the back in faint blue ink. For Amara. "Don't let her eat alone." Her breath caught. How could that be? She'd never seen this woman before. And yet, she'd just prayed for someone to sit with her. Was this woman sent to answer her prayer? Or was something else happening here? As the paramedics wheeled the woman out, Amara clutched the bracelet tightly in her palm, her mind spinning. The crowd whispered. The teachers exchanged nervous looks. But Amara just sat there, alone again, with her prayer half answered and a mystery that was only beginning. And when she turned the bracelet over once more, she noticed something she hadn't seen before. A second name scratched faintly into the metal. Her mother's, Tasha Williams. The sirens outside faded, but the noise inside Amara's head didn't stop. She sat frozen at the lunch table, clutching the hospital bracelet in her small hand. Her classmates had gone quiet, their curiosity mixing with fear. Teachers whispered to each other in low tones, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The cafeteria doors had closed behind the paramedics, but it felt like the whole world had paused right there with them. Mrs. Blake, her teacher, knelt beside Amara. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" she asked softly. Amara could barely speak. She knew my name. Mrs. Blake frowned. "Who knew your name?" "The old lady," Amara whispered. "She said she was looking for me." Mrs. Blake looked confused. "Honey, maybe she was just saying that because she wanted to sit with you." But Amara shook her head. "She said I don't have to eat alone anymore. And She looked down at her trembling hand. And this bracelet, it has my mom's name on it. Mrs. Blake blinked, clearly not knowing what to say. Let's go see the nurse. Okay? Maybe she can help figure this out. Amara stood slowly, the bracelet clinking softly in her hand. As they walked through the hallway, the other students stared. Some whispered. Others just looked away. She could hear Haley say behind her, "She's probably making it up." But Amara didn't turn around. She just held the bracelet tighter. The nurse's office smelled like Band-Aids and hand sanitizer. Nurse Jenkins looked up when they walked in. "Oh, Amara, honey, you okay? You saw the lady faint, right?" Amara nodded, climbing onto the chair beside the cot. Mrs. Blake explained quietly what had happened. Nurse Jenkins listened, nodding, her face serious. When Amara held up the bracelet, the nurse's expression changed. "Can I see that?" she asked gently. Amara handed it to her. The nurse turned it over, squinting at the faded writing. "It's old," she murmured. "Real old. These kinds of hospital tags haven't been used in years." Mrs. Blake frowned. "Years? Like how long ago? Maybe 40 years?" the nurse guessed. "This thing's practically a relic." Amara's small voice cut through the air. "But why does it have my mom's name on it?" Nurse Jenkins didn't answer right away. She rubbed her thumb over the faint letters. "Tasha Williams," she read aloud. "That's your mama, right?" Amara nodded. Mrs. Blake sighed. "Maybe the lady used to know her?" Amara's head shook. "Mama never said anything about her." Just then, the nurse's phone buzzed. She answered, listened for a moment, and then turned to them. "They just took the woman to Mercy Hospital. She's stable now, but they don't know who she is. No ID, no wallet, nothing." Mrs. Blake looked at Amara. "Do you want me to call your mom to come get you?" Amara hesitated, then nodded. She didn't want to go home yet, but she needed her mama to know about this. An hour later, Tasha arrived, still in her diner uniform. Her hair was tucked under a cap, and her eyes showed the kind of tired only a mother working double shifts would know. "Baby, you okay?" she asked, rushing over and kneeling beside Amara. Amara hugged her tight. "Mama," she sat with me. "The lady I prayed for. She really came." Tasha blinked. "Who came?" Amara held up the bracelet. This was hers. When Tasha saw it, her body stiffened. Her breath hitched. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Mrs. Blake noticed the change. "Do you recognize it?" Tasha's lips parted, but no words came out. She took the bracelet carefully, her thumb tracing the faded letters. Her eyes looked like they were seeing something far away. Then she said softly, "Where did she get this?" Amara looked at her. "Mama, what is it?" Tasha didn't answer. She just turned the bracelet over again, as if hoping the answer was hidden somewhere in the scratches. Finally, she looked up. "I had one just like this when I was little," she whispered. "Your grandma. She used to wear it." Amara's eyes widened. "You mean the lady? She's your mama?" Tasha shook her head quickly. "That can't be. My mother. She passed away before I turned 10. Mrs. Blake frowned. "Are you sure? The hospital just said they found no ID." "I'm sure," Tasha said firmly, but her voice was trembling. "She died in a fire. There was nothing left to—" She stopped herself, squeezing her eyes shut. "It can't be her." Amara's small voice broke the silence. "But Mama, she knew my name." Tasha looked at her daughter, really looked, and her face softened with something between fear and wonder. "Baby, maybe it's just a coincidence. Sometimes life sends people at the right time." "But she said she'd been looking for me," Amara whispered. "And the bracelet said, 'Don't let her eat alone.'" Tasha's breath caught again. "Ma'am," Mrs. Blake asked carefully, "is there something you're not telling us?" Tasha hesitated. "When I was your age," she said slowly, turning to Amara, "I used to eat alone too. Kids didn't want to sit with me either. And one day, a stranger sat beside me in the cafeteria. An older woman, kind eyes, silver hair. She told me the same thing." Amara's mouth fell open. "The same thing?" Tasha nodded. She said, "You don't have to eat alone anymore." The room went silent. Even Nurse Jenkins stopped typing. Tasha looked down at the bracelet again, her fingers trembling. "She gave this to me before she left. I never saw her again after that," Mrs. Blake whispered. "Then how could it end up with that woman today?" Tasha didn't answer. Her face was pale now. "I don't know," she said finally, "but I need to see her." That night, after school, Tasha drove Amara to Mercy Hospital. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold. Amara stared out the window, holding the bracelet tight in her lap. "Mama," she said softly, "do you think she's really Grandma?" Tasha exhaled slowly. "I don't know, baby. I don't know what to think." When they arrived, the nurse at the front desk led them to a quiet room at the end of the hall. "She's resting now," the nurse said. "She woke up once, asked for someone named Amara." Tasha's eyes widened. They stepped inside. The old woman lay on the hospital bed, eyes closed, breathing softly. Her silver hair rested against the pillow, her hands folded neatly on her stomach. Amara took a slow step forward. "That's her," she whispered. Tasha walked closer too, her voice trembling. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" The woman's eyes fluttered open. Slowly, she turned her head toward them. When her gaze met Tasha's, her lips curved into a faint smile. "Tasha," she whispered, her voice thin as air. "You grew up." Tasha froze. The room spun. How do you know my name?" she stammered. The woman reached out a trembling hand, her eyes shining with tears. "Because I never stopped looking for you." And just as Tasha moved closer, the monitors beside the bed began to beep wildly. Nurses rushed in, shouting orders. Amara screamed, clutching her mother's arm. "Tasha, step back!" one of the nurses yelled. The old woman's hand reached out one last time, barely touching Amara's sleeve, before the heart monitor flatlined. The nurses surrounded her, trying to bring her back. Tasha stood frozen, tears spilling down her face. And when Amara looked down at her arm, she saw a small piece of paper folded into her sleeve. On it were 5 words written in shaky blue ink. "Tell her I kept my promise." The sound of the heart monitor's flatline echoed through the hospital room like a siren no one could silence. Amara clutched her mother's arm, trembling, watching as the nurses worked frantically around the old woman's bed. Tasha's face was pale, her eyes wide and wet, frozen between disbelief and heartbreak. "Clear!" one nurse shouted, pressing the defibrillator to the woman's chest. Her body jolted, then fell still again. They tried once more. "Clear!" Beep, beep, beep. The monitor came back to life. Relief swept through the room like a soft wind. The nurses exhaled, one of them muttering, "We've got her." But Tasha didn't move. She was staring at her daughter's hand, the one holding the folded note that had somehow appeared in her sleeve. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. Amara's voice shook. "It was there, when she touched me." Tasha took it gently, unfolding it with trembling fingers. The words written in shaky blue ink glowed faintly under the fluorescent lights. "Tell her I kept my promise." Tasha swallowed hard. Her promise. Amara's voice was barely above a whisper. "What promise, Mama?" Tasha didn't answer. She just looked at the old woman lying motionless on the bed, breathing shallowly, her frail chest rising and falling beneath the white sheets. Something deep inside her stirred, a memory she'd buried long ago. Later that night, after the doctors stabilized the woman, they were allowed to visit her again. The hospital room was dim now, the only light coming from the monitors beside the bed. Amara sat in a chair, her feet dangling above the floor, watching the steady rhythm of the heart monitor. Tasha stood beside the bed, arms crossed tightly as if holding herself together. "I don't understand this," she murmured. "She can't be who I think she is. That's impossible." Amara looked up at her. "But Mama, what if it's really her? What if Grandma didn't, die?" Tasha's lips pressed into a thin line. "Baby, I saw the fire. I saw the house. There was no way she could have survived. But the bracelet." I don't know. Tasha's voice cracked. She stopped herself, closing her eyes and taking a shaky breath. I just don't know. Amara's eyes filled with tears. She sat with me, Mama, when no one else would. I prayed for someone to sit with me at lunch, and she came. Tasha turned to her daughter, her expression softening. She knelt beside her. Sometimes, God sends people to remind us He's still listening, she said gently. But that doesn't mean we'll always understand how or why. Amara nodded, but her small hands clenched around the edge of her chair. It just felt like she knew me. The door opened quietly. A doctor stepped in, a tall man with glasses and tired eyes. Mrs. Williams, he said. I'm Dr. Reed. I wanted to give you an update. Tasha straightened. How is she? She's stable for now, the doctor said. But her memory seems fractured. She keeps repeating the same two names, yours and your daughter's. We haven't been able to confirm her identity. No records match her fingerprints. It's like she doesn't exist. Tasha frowned. What do you mean she doesn't exist? I mean, Dr. Reed said carefully. There's no trace of her in any system, medical, legal, anything. It's as if she appeared out of thin air. Tasha and Amara exchanged glances. Can we talk to her? Tasha asked quietly. Dr. Reed hesitated. She's still weak, but maybe a few minutes. He left the room, and a nurse followed him out, leaving them alone again. Tasha sat in the chair beside the bed, brushing a strand of hair from the woman's face. Ma'am, she whispered. Can you hear me? The woman's eyes fluttered open slowly. For a moment, they were distant, cloudy, like she was searching through time. Then they focused on Tasha. Tasha, she said softly, a small smile appearing. You came back. Tasha's breath caught. Who are you? The woman's smile faded. Her voice cracked. You don't remember me? Amara leaned forward. She says she's grandma, she whispered, her voice full of innocent hope. The woman's eyes flickered toward Amara, and for a second, they lit up. You look just like her, she whispered. The same eyes, the same brave heart. Tasha's throat tightened. How do you know that? The woman closed her eyes, a tear sliding down her cheek. Because I held you both once, she whispered. One in my arms, and one in my prayers. Tasha froze. You can't be my mother, she said quietly. You died in that fire. They found. There was no body, the woman interrupted weakly. There never was. The air in the room seemed to thicken. Amara's voice trembled. So, you didn't die? The woman opened her eyes again, her breathing slow and heavy. Someone saved me that night. A stranger. Said I still had a promise to keep. Tasha frowned. A promise? The woman nodded faintly. To never let another little girl eat alone. Tasha covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. It was the same thing she'd been told all those years ago in her school cafeteria. The same words the woman had whispered to her daughter. The woman reached for Amara's hand. I saw you sitting there, baby girl, just like your mama once did. And I couldn't let history repeat itself. Amara squeezed her hand gently. You came because I prayed. The woman smiled faintly. Maybe you prayed loud enough for heaven to listen. The room was quiet again except for the soft beeping of the monitor. Tasha wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. If you're really my mother, why didn't you come back? Why let me think you were gone? The woman's lips quivered. I tried, Tasha. I tried for years. But no one believed me. They said I was crazy, that the fire took everything. I changed my name, moved from place to place. I thought maybe one day I'd find you. Amara's little voice broke through the silence. And you found me instead. The woman smiled sadly. You were my second chance. Tasha held her mother's hand tightly, her tears falling freely now. All this time, I thought I lost you. The old woman squeezed her hand weakly. You didn't lose me, baby. You just had to grow up first. Dr. Reed returned quietly, glancing at the monitors. She needs rest, he said softly. You should let her sleep. Tasha nodded, brushing a tear from her cheek. We'll stay right here. As the doctor left, Amara climbed into the chair beside the bed and held her grandmother's other hand. Will she be okay? Tasha forced a smile. We'll pray she will. Hours passed. The hospital lights dimmed. Tasha dozed off in the chair beside the bed, her hand still wrapped around her mother's. Amara stayed awake, staring at the bracelet on the nightstand. It shimmered under the faint light, the words, "Don't let her eat alone," catching her eye. Then, something strange happened. The bracelet began to glow, softly at first, then brighter, casting a golden light across the room. Amara's eyes widened. She looked at her grandmother, then at her mother. The old woman's eyes opened slowly. "Amara," she whispered, her voice faint but clear. "Promise me something." Amara leaned closer. "Anything. Promise me," she said, her eyes filling with tears, "that you'll sit with the ones who are alone, the quiet ones, the forgotten ones. Promise you'll be the answer to someone else's prayer." Amara nodded, her throat tight. "I promise." The woman smiled weakly, her fingers brushing Amara's cheek. "Good girl," she whispered. And then, the bracelet's light flickered once, twice, and went dark. The monitor beside the bed began to flatline again. The steady, piercing flatline filled the hospital room once again, slicing through the silence like a knife. The monitors blared as nurses rushed in, pushing past Tasha and Amara. "Code Blue!" one of them shouted, grabbing the crash cart. Tasha's knees went weak. "No, no, please!" she cried, her voice cracking as she reached for her mother's hand. But a nurse gently pulled her back. "Ma'am, we need space to work." Amara stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks. The glowing bracelet on the nightstand had gone completely dark. "Clear." A nurse pressed the defibrillator to the old woman's chest. Her frail body jerked once, then fell still again. "Clear," another voice called out. The second shock made the heart monitor flicker. Then a faint beep returned. Beep, beep. Everyone let out a collective sigh of relief. The doctor looked up. "We've got a pulse." Tasha covered her mouth, sobbing softly. She turned to Amara and pulled her close. "It's okay, baby. She's still with us." But as Amara looked up, she noticed something the adults didn't. Her grandmother's eyes were half open, staring directly at her. And though her lips didn't move, Amara swore she heard a whisper. "Look in the box." If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps us motivated and reminds us that our stories are making a difference in people's lives. When the room finally calmed and the nurses left, Dr. Reed told them the woman needed rest. "She's been through a lot," he said, adjusting his glasses. "If there's anything she's trying to tell you, it can wait until morning." Tasha nodded numbly, still holding her daughter close. "Thank you, doctor." As he left, Tasha sank into the chair again, her face pale and exhausted. Amara climbed onto her lap, clutching the small bracelet. "Mama," she whispered. "She talked to me again." Tasha looked down, brushing her daughter's hair back. "What did she say, sweetheart?" Amara's voice trembled. She said, "Look in the box." Tasha frowned. "What box?" "I don't know," Amara said softly. But it sounded real, like she was standing right next to me. Tasha rubbed her temples, the weight of everything pressed down on her. The reappearance of a woman she'd thought was dead, the strange bracelet, and now her daughter hearing things no one else could. "Baby," she said gently, "you've had a long day. Maybe you're just tired." Amara's eyes stayed wide. "I wasn't dreaming, Mama." Tasha forced a weak smile. "Okay, sweetheart, let's rest a little. We'll see what she says when she wakes up again." But deep down, something in her mother's tone told Amara she didn't believe her. By morning, the hospital was buzzing again. The sound of rolling carts, distant chatter, and beeping monitors filled the hallways. Tasha had dozed off in the chair, her hand still clutching her mother's. Amara, however, hadn't slept much. She kept thinking about the voice, about the box. As the sunlight streamed through the window, Amara slipped off the chair quietly and began to look around. Maybe there was a box. Maybe her grandmother had hidden something important. She checked the drawers, the shelves, even the closet, but there was nothing unusual, just hospital supplies and folded linens. Then, as she crouched near the nightstand, she noticed something strange. A small key taped underneath it, rusty and old, almost invisible against the wood. Her heart raced. "Mama," she whispered, shaking Tasha's arm. "Wake up." Tasha stirred, her voice groggy. "What is it, baby?" Amara held up the key. "I found this. It was under the table." Tasha blinked, sitting up. "Where did that come from?" "I think Grandma wanted me to find it," Amara said. "She said to look in the box." Tasha frowned, glancing at her mother, still asleep. "Amara, that could just be—" Before she could finish, they heard a faint knock on the door. A nurse peeked in. "Mrs. Williams? Your mother's awake." Both of them turned instantly. The old woman's eyes were open now, weak, but clear. She motioned for them to come closer. Tasha rushed to her side, grabbing her hand. "Mama," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You scared us half to death." The old woman smiled faintly. "Guess I still know how to make an entrance." Amara giggled softly through her tears, but Tasha's eyes were serious. "You said you made a promise," she said. "You said someone saved you from the fire. Who was it? Why didn't you ever come back?" The woman's gaze drifted toward the window. "Because I wasn't meant to, not then. The fire took everything I had, Tasha. I tried to find you, but by the time I could, you were already grown. Already strong. You didn't need me anymore." Tasha's voice broke. "I always needed you." The woman squeezed her hand gently. "No, baby. You needed to become the kind of woman who could raise her." Her eyes shifted to Amara. "She's got your heart, Tasha, and she's going to do something beautiful with it." Amara climbed closer. "Grandma," she said softly, "you told me to look in the box." The woman's expression changed, sadness, mixed with relief. "You heard me?" Amara nodded. "I found this." She held up the tiny key. The old woman's lips curved into a trembling smile. "That key. It opens the box I left behind. Still at the old house. The one that burned." Tasha's breath caught. "That house doesn't exist anymore." "It does," her mother whispered. "Not all of it burned. There's a place under the porch, the box is there. Inside are the things I couldn't take with me. Letters, photos, the truth." Tasha's mind raced. "The truth about what?" The woman's voice weakened. "About who started the fire." The words hit like thunder. Tasha froze. "You're saying it wasn't an accident?" Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "No, baby, it wasn't." The room went silent. Even the hum of the machines seemed to fade away. Amara whispered, "Who did it, Grandma?" But before the woman could answer, her breathing grew shallow again. The monitor began to beep faster. "You have to find the box," she gasped. "Promise me." Tasha leaned closer, tears falling down her face. "I promise, Mama. I'll find it." The old woman smiled weakly. "Then I can rest." The monitor steadied again, her breathing evening out. She drifted back to sleep, her hand still holding her daughter's. Later that afternoon, Tasha signed the discharge papers to bring her home under observation. The doctor said she needed rest, but Tasha knew there was something more, something that needed answers. As they prepared to leave, Amara slipped the key into her backpack. She didn't know what they'd find, but she felt certain now that her grandmother's story wasn't finished. When they got outside, the air was cool and crisp. The sun was dipping low, painting the horizon gold. Tasha stood beside the car, staring down the long road leading out of town, the same direction the old house once stood. "Mama," Amara said quietly, "are we going there?" Tasha hesitated. "Not tonight, baby. It's been a long day." "But Grandma said—" "I know," Tasha said softly. "We will. I just need time to think." Amara nodded, but deep down she felt it. That same whisper she'd heard in the cafeteria, the one that told her everything was happening for a reason. When they got into the car, she turned to look out the window one last time. In the reflection of the hospital's glass doors, she thought she saw something. Her grandmother's faint figure standing there, smiling softly. And though her lips didn't move, Amara could hear the words as clear as day. "Hurry, before it's too late." The reflection vanished. Amara's hand tightened around the key. And in that moment, she knew whatever waited in that box wasn't just the truth about the fire. It was the secret her family had been running from all along. The next morning, the sun poured through the curtains of Amara's room, casting stripes of light across the floor. She woke to the soft hum of her alarm, but her mind was already awake, racing with thoughts of the box. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, brushing her fingers over the small key tucked safely under her pillow. It felt heavier somehow, as if it carried the weight of the mystery waiting to be uncovered. "Mama?" she called softly. Tasha's bed was empty. She walked to the kitchen and found her mother making breakfast, her hands shaking slightly as she flipped pancakes. Her eyes were distant, thoughtful. "Good morning, baby girl," Tasha said, trying to smile. "Sleep well." "Not really," Amara admitted, climbing onto a stool. "I keep thinking about Grandma and the box." Tasha froze, flipping the pancake with a little more force than necessary. "Yeah, me too," she said quietly. She looked down at her hands, then back at Amara. "We'll have to go soon. I need to prepare myself." Amara's heart pounded. "Prepare yourself for what?" Tasha shook her head, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "To see the truth, baby. Some things we might not be ready for." By mid-morning, Tasha had convinced herself that they needed to visit the remains of her childhood home. The house had burned decades ago, but she remembered the location vividly. A forgotten corner of town, surrounded by thick trees and overgrown grass. As they drove there, Amara clutched the key, feeling its weight against her palm. Every mile seemed longer than the last, anticipation building with each turn. When they arrived, the house was barely recognizable. Only a few charred walls and the crumbling foundation remained. Wildflowers and weeds grew wildly where a lawn once was. The air smelled faintly of smoke and earth. Tasha took a deep breath. "This is it," she said softly, her eyes scanning the ruins. "This is where it all happened." Amara stepped carefully over broken pieces of wood and scorched bricks. "Where do we start?" she asked. Tasha pointed to what remained of the porch. "Under there. The box is supposed to be under the floorboards." Amara knelt down, brushing away dirt and leaves. Her fingers found a loose plank. She pried it up slowly, revealing a small, blackened wooden box, its edges charred but intact. Her hands shook as she lifted it. "Mama, it's real." Tasha knelt beside her, eyes wide. "It's been here all this time, hidden from the world." Amara slid the key into the lock. It fit perfectly. She turned it slowly, holding her breath. The lock clicked and she lifted the lid. Inside were letters yellowed with age, and a small bundle wrapped in a faded cloth. Her hands shook as she unfolded one of the letters. It was addressed to Tasha. "My dear Tasha, if you are reading this, it means I am gone. I tried to protect you. I tried to keep you safe from the fire that was meant to take everything. There are things you need to know, things I could not say while I was alive. Trust no one outside the family. The truth is dangerous, but you are strong enough to handle it. Love always, Grandma." Tasha's eyes filled with tears. She handed the letter to Amara, who read it aloud in a shaky voice. "Trust no one outside the family. The truth is dangerous." "Mama, what does it mean?" Tasha shook her head. "I don't know yet, baby, but we're going to find out." They carefully opened the bundle. Inside were old photographs, some black and white, others faded with color. There were pictures of Tasha as a child, smiling, holding hands with a woman Amara immediately recognized as the elderly woman from the hospital. "Grandma," Amara whispered. Tasha's lips trembled. "She never stopped watching over us. She never left. That's why she came back, to make sure you didn't suffer the way I did." Amara sifted through more letters. One, dated just days before the fire, revealed something chilling. "The fire is coming. They are jealous of our family. They will try to take everything from us. Protect the girls at all costs. Hide what you can. Only I know the full truth. Keep this safe. Amara froze. Mama, they? Who are they? Tasha's hands tightened around her daughters. I don't know, baby girl. But whoever did this wanted to hurt us. Wanted to erase our family. Amara's stomach twisted. So, Grandma survived the fire. Because she had to hide something? Tasha nodded slowly. Yes, and she made sure we would find it one day when the time was right. The two of them sat in silence, the wind rustling the overgrown grass around them. The old box, the letters, the photographs, it was all a puzzle. And somewhere, hidden in these pieces, was the secret of who had tried to destroy their family. Suddenly, Amara's hand brushed something at the bottom of the box. She pulled out a small, leather-bound journal. Its pages were yellowed, the ink faded but legible. Tasha opened it, scanning the first page. Her eyes widened as she read the handwriting, the words trembling across the paper. If you are reading this, it means I am gone. But my work is not finished. You must be brave. The people who want to destroy us are still out there. They will come for what is left. Protect Amara. Protect the future. And remember, kindness is our weapon. Never let anyone eat alone. Amara's voice trembled. Mama, Grandma knew. She knew they were still out there. Tasha nodded slowly. Yes, that's why she came back. That's why she saved you at lunch. Why she appeared in the cafeteria. She made sure the cycle of kindness continued. And she left this for us, so we'd know what to do next. Amara's eyes filled with tears. So, the prayer worked? God answered. Tasha smiled through her tears. Yes, baby. He answered. And now it's our turn to answer the next prayer. We have to be brave. We have to be careful. And we have to protect each other. Amara held the journal close. She thought about the little black girl sitting alone in the cafeteria, praying for someone to come. And now she understood. Sometimes prayers are answered in ways you could never imagine. Tasha stood, looking down at the ruins of the house. We can't stay here, she said. We have the evidence, the letters, the journal. We need to go home, study this, and plan our next move. Whoever did this, they're still out there. Amara nodded, clutching the journal and the bracelet. I'm ready, Mama. Whatever it takes. Tasha put an arm around her daughter. We'll do it together, baby girl. Together. As they walked back to the car, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke and old memories. Somewhere in the shadows, the past lingered, waiting. And as they drove away, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them. Someone who knew they had found the box. She glanced down at the bracelet in her hand, the words engraved on it glowing faintly in the sunlight. Don't let her eat alone. The promise was no longer just about lunch. It was about survival, about family, about uncovering the truth before it was too late. And the next extreme event, the one that would change everything, was closer than they realized. The drive home was quiet, almost eerily so. Amara sat in the back seat, the journal resting on her lap, fingers tracing the faded letters. Every so often, she glanced at the bracelet in her hand, its faint glow reminding her of her grandmother's promise. Tasha kept her eyes on the road, her jaw tight, as though she were bracing herself for something she couldn't yet name. Neither spoke much. The weight of what they had uncovered hung between them, heavy and suffocating. When they finally pulled into their driveway, the house seemed smaller somehow. The morning sun cast long shadows across the yard, and even the familiar creak of the front steps felt foreign. Amara clutched the journal tightly as they stepped inside, the silence of the house wrapping around them like a heavy blanket. Let's go to your room, Tasha said softly, closing the door behind them. We need to think. We need a plan. Amara nodded, her mind racing. She had so many questions. About the fire, the letters, the strange woman who had appeared in the cafeteria, and about the warning in the journal. The people who want to destroy us are still out there. Inside her room, Amara carefully opened the journal. Dust motes floated in the sunlight as she flipped through the pages, scanning her grandmother's handwriting. Every line was filled with warnings, instructions, and memories that seemed too vivid for someone who had vanished for decades. Tasha sat on the edge of the bed, watching her daughter with a mix of pride and fear. "What does it say this time?" she asked. Amara read aloud, her voice trembling. "Keep the evidence safe. Trust only those who have proven their loyalty. And remember, kindness is the shield no one can destroy." Tasha nodded slowly. That makes sense. Grandma survived because she was clever. She planned for every possibility. And now, she's counting on us to do the same. Amara frowned. "But Mama, who are these people? Why would they want to hurt us?" Tasha shook her head. "I don't know yet, but whoever they are, they've been waiting a long time. And now that we have the box, we've made ourselves visible." A chill ran down Amara's spine. "So they could come after us?" "Yes," Tasha whispered, her hand gripping her daughter's. "And we need to be ready." That evening, Tasha called in a favor. She knew a family friend, Mr. Hayes, who worked as a private investigator. He had helped her years ago after her mother's fire, tracking down leads that the police couldn't or wouldn't pursue. When Mr. Hayes arrived, he was quiet and serious. He wore a worn leather jacket, his eyes sharp and calculating. He glanced at the box and journal on the table, nodding slowly. "So this is what she left for you," he said, his voice low. "Interesting. Whoever tried to take your family out. They're smart. And dangerous." Tasha swallowed hard. "We need to know everything, Hayes. We need to understand who's after us and why." Mr. Hayes nodded. "I'll start digging. But right now, we need to secure this evidence. Whoever is out there won't hesitate." Amara frowned. "We're in danger?" "Yes," Tasha admitted. "But we'll protect each other. That's what matters." Later that night, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, clutching the journal and the bracelet. Her mind replayed the events of the last few days. The lunchroom prayer, the mysterious woman, the letters, and now the warning about the people who wanted to harm them. Suddenly, she heard a faint noise outside her window. At first, she thought it was just the wind, rustling the trees. But then she heard it again. A soft, deliberate click, like someone stepping carefully on the porch. Her heart raced. She grabbed the flashlight from her nightstand and tiptoed to the window. Through the shadows, she saw a figure standing in the yard. A tall, dark shape, perfectly still. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The figure didn't move. The hair on the back of her neck stood up. She pressed her face closer to the glass, shining the flashlight on the figure. And then the shadow moved. It was gone. Amara's breath caught. She ran to her mother's room. "Mama, someone's outside." Tasha bolted upright, her eyes wide with alarm. "Where?" Amara pointed to the window. "I saw someone. I think they were watching us." Tasha grabbed her phone and called Mr. Hayes immediately. "Hayes, it's happening. Someone's outside. We need help now." Within minutes, Mr. Hayes arrived, flashlight in hand, moving cautiously through the yard. He checked every corner, the bushes, the perimeter, but there was no one there. "They're good," he said finally, returning to the house. "Too good. Whoever it is, they know what they're doing. They're watching, waiting." Tasha shivered, hugging Amara tightly. "We have to be careful," she whispered. "No one comes in or out without knowing exactly who they are." Amara nodded, holding her grandmother's bracelet tightly. "But Mama, what if they try to take the box? Or the journal?" "We'll protect it," Tasha said firmly. "And we'll protect each other. That's the most important thing." The next day, Tasha and Amara began going through the box and journal again, looking for clues that might help them understand the threat. Among the letters and photographs, Amara noticed a small envelope tucked between the pages. She pulled it out carefully. The envelope was old, yellowed, and sealed with a wax stamp, a symbol of a rising sun. She opened it, revealing a single sheet of paper. On it were words written in the same shaky handwriting. "If you are reading this, it means you are already being watched. Trust no one. There are those who want to take what belongs to you. Protect the girls. Protect the truth. And remember, Kindness is stronger than fear. Amara shivered. Mama, it's happening. Grandma warned us. Tasha nodded, her face pale. Yes, and now we know the fight has begun. That evening, they sat together, going through the photographs and letters, trying to piece together the puzzle. Amara realized that her grandmother had left not just warnings, but guidance. How to be brave, how to protect themselves, how to use kindness as a shield. But as the sun set and shadows filled the house, a feeling of unease settled over them. They both knew that someone was out there, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. And just as Amara began to close the journal, a loud crash echoed from the living room. Glass shattered. Tasha and Amara froze, their hearts hammering in unison. "Stay behind me," Tasha whispered, grabbing a heavy lamp. Amara clutched the bracelet tightly, her mind racing. Whoever it was, they had finally made their move. And in that moment, everything changed. The crash echoed through the house, a sharp, jarring sound that made Amara's heart leap into her throat. Shards of glass glimmered on the floor like tiny stars scattered by some invisible hand. Tasha moved first, grabbing her daughter's hand and pulling her behind the couch. "Stay down, Amara," she whispered, her voice low and firm. "Do not move." Amara's fingers clutched the bracelet tightly, the faint glow reassuring her somehow. She watched as Tasha inched toward the living room, every step cautious, eyes scanning the shadows. Her heart pounded in her chest like a drumbeat, loud enough that she was sure the intruder could hear it. The house was silent now, except for the occasional creak of the floorboards and the hum of the refrigerator. Tasha paused at the doorway, peering into the darkened living room. First, it looked empty. Then she saw it. A shadow moving near the window, too quick to be caught by the eye. "Who's there?" Tasha demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. No answer. Then the shadow moved again, darting toward the box that Amara and Tasha had carefully hidden under the table. "Amara!" Tasha shouted. "Grab the box." Amara leapt from behind the couch, snatching up the box with trembling hands. Her small fingers dug into the edges as she ran to Tasha. Together, they backed toward the hallway, hearts racing. The shadow followed, silent but deliberate, a presence that sent chills down Amara's spine. If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps us motivated and reminds us that our stories are making a difference in people's lives. They barely made it to the staircase when the intruder stepped into the dim light, revealing a man dressed in black. His face was partially covered by a mask, but his eyes gleamed cold and calculating. Tasha planted herself in front of Amara, holding the box like a shield. "Who are you?" she demanded. The man didn't answer. He lunged forward, reaching for the box. Tasha swung the lamp she had grabbed, striking him across the arm. He hissed in pain but didn't stop. Amara screamed, "Mama!" The man grabbed the box anyway, tearing it from Tasha's hands. "No!" Tasha shouted, lunging for it. The box slipped from her grip, and the man bolted toward the door. Amara's eyes filled with tears. "He's taking it. He's going to take Grandma's box." Tasha grabbed her daughter, running after the man. "Stop!" she yelled. But he was fast, disappearing into the night before they could reach him. Breathless and shaking, Tasha and Amara returned inside, staring at the open window. The box was gone. Tasha sank onto the couch, her face pale. He knew where it was. He knew everything. Amara clutched her mother's hand. "But who is he, Mama? Why does he want the box?" Tasha shook her head. "I don't know. But whatever Grandma wrote in the journal, whoever is out there, they won't stop until they have it." Amara's small fingers tightened around the bracelet. "Mama, Grandma said kindness is our shield. How do we fight him with kindness?" Tasha swallowed hard. "We have to be smart, baby. We have to protect ourselves. And we have to figure out who he is before he comes back." The rest of the night was a blur. Tasha called Mr. Hayes immediately, explaining what had happened. He arrived within the hour, eyes sharp and suspicious. "This isn't random," he said, examining the open window and the scuffed floor. He knows your house, he knows the box, and he knows your family. Whoever this is, they've been planning this for a long time. Amara shivered. But why? What could be in the box that's so important? Mr. Hayes didn't answer immediately. He knelt to inspect the floorboards. Some secrets are worth more than gold, he said finally. And some people will do anything to get them. Tasha rubbed her temples. We can't let him win, Hayes. We have to get the box back. He nodded. I'll start tracking him. But you two need to be careful. Don't leave the house unless you know it's safe. No one comes in or out without my permission. Amara held her grandmother's bracelet tightly. I won't let him hurt us, Mama. I promise. Tasha looked down at her daughter, pride and fear warring in her eyes. I know, baby girl. I know. The next morning, the house felt different. Heavier somehow. Every sound seemed amplified, every shadow suspicious. Amara stayed close to Tasha, keeping her eyes on the front door and windows. Even the sunlight streaming through the curtains felt threatening now, as if it could reveal a hidden watcher. Tasha called Mr. Hayes again. Have you found anything? She asked. Maybe, he said, his voice tense. The man who took the box, he's skilled. Could be military, could be trained in security. Whoever he is, he's dangerous. And he's not working alone. Amara's eyes widened. Not alone? There's more than one. Yes, Tasha whispered, her voice barely audible. And that means we're in more danger than we thought. The weight of the situation pressed down on them like a physical force. Amara clutched the bracelet, feeling the warmth of her grandmother's promise. She wasn't going to let fear win. That afternoon, Tasha decided they needed to act. We can't just wait for him to come back, she said. We need to find the box before he does. Amara nodded. But where do we even start? Tasha opened the journal again, flipping through the letters. One caught her eye, a letter that her grandmother had written but never dated. If they come for the box, it will be obvious. Look to the place where history sleeps. The box holds the key, but the key alone will not protect you. Be brave, Tasha. Be wise. Tasha looked up at Amara. History sleeps. It has to mean something. Grandma left us a clue. Amara bit her lip. Maybe it means the old house, the place that burned. Tasha nodded slowly. Yes, but it's risky. Whoever wants the box already knows we have it. If we go back there, they could be waiting. Amara's hand shook as she held the bracelet. Mama, we have to try. Grandma trusted us to finish this. Tasha swallowed hard. You're right. We have to try. As night fell, Tasha packed a small bag with supplies. The journal, the letters, and the bracelet. Amara clutched the bracelet tightly, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The house was silent, the shadows long and threatening. Every creak of the floorboards made Amara jump. She kept glancing out the window, half expecting to see the shadowy figure from the previous night. Tasha held her hand. Stay close, Amara. No matter what happens, we stay together. Amara nodded. I promise, Mama. They slipped into the car, headlights cutting through the darkness. The old burned house loomed in the distance, its charred remains hidden in shadows. Somewhere out there, the man in black or his accomplices was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And neither Tasha nor Amara knew that the next extreme event, the one that would change everything, was closer than they could imagine. The drive to the old house was tense, every mile filled with quiet dread. Amara sat clutching the bracelet, its faint glow a small comfort in the darkness. Tasha's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white, eyes scanning the road ahead. The town was quiet now, the streets empty, the streetlights flickering in the wind. Do you think he's waiting for us? Amara whispered, her voice trembling. Tasha didn't answer immediately. She swallowed hard, finally saying, I don't know, baby girl, but we have to be ready for anything. That's why we brought the journal and letters. Grandma left us clues. We just have to figure them out before it's too late. Amara nodded silently, staring out the window at the shadows stretching across the road like dark fingers reaching for them. When they arrived at the burned remains of the house, it was eerily quiet. The blackened timbers and overgrown weeds loomed like ghosts of the past. Amara felt a chill run down her spine. She clutched the bracelet tighter, the faint glow pulsing slightly, as if urging her forward. Tasha parked a few yards away and turned off the engine. "We need to be careful," she whispered. "This place hasn't been touched in decades, but that doesn't mean we're alone." Amara nodded, stepping out of the car. The air smelled faintly of smoke and earth, the remnants of destruction lingering even after all these years. They approached the porch carefully. Tasha knelt beside Amara and pointed to a section of the floorboards. "This is where Grandma hid the box before," she said softly. "We just have to be quick and quiet." Amara's heart pounded as she pried up the boards, revealing the small blackened wooden box beneath. Her fingers shook as she lifted it out, brushing away dirt and debris. "It's here," she whispered, her eyes wide with awe. Tasha put a hand on her shoulder. "Good. Now we need to figure out the next clue. Grandma left instructions for a reason." They opened the box carefully, revealing the letters, photographs, and the small journal. But there was something new this time, a folded envelope with a symbol stamped in gold. Amara picked it up, feeling the crispness of the paper. "Open it," Tasha urged, her voice tense. Amara unfolded the envelope. Inside was a map, hand-drawn, showing the layout of their town. A small X marked a location not far from where they were standing. Beneath it, in faded handwriting, "The place where history sleeps will reveal the truth. Only those brave enough to face it will survive." Amara's hands trembled. "Mama, it's another clue." Tasha's eyes narrowed. "And it looks like we're supposed to go there next. But we need to be careful. Whoever is after this box could be waiting for us at that location." They packed the box and journal back into Tasha's bag and slipped quietly back to the car. As they drove, the sense of being watched grew stronger. Every shadow seemed to shift. Every sound of the wind in the trees sounded like footsteps following them. Amara clutched the bracelet, feeling the warmth of her grandmother's promise. "Don't let her eat alone." The words seemed to whisper in her mind, but now the meaning was larger. It was about protecting themselves, about surviving. They arrived at the location marked on the map, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The building loomed in the darkness, its windows broken and boarded up, its walls covered in graffiti. Tasha's stomach tightened. "Stay close, Amara," she whispered. "This place, it feels wrong." Amara nodded, stepping carefully over broken glass and rusted metal. Her flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating a narrow path leading to the main door of the warehouse. As they entered, the smell of damp wood and mold hit them immediately. The floorboards creaked under their feet, and the shadows inside seemed alive, stretching and twisting with every movement. Tasha held the flashlight steady, scanning the room. "Keep the box close," she said. "And whatever you do, don't let go." They moved cautiously, following the map's instructions. It led them to a small, hidden door at the back of the warehouse, almost invisible behind a stack of old crates. Amara's heart pounded. She reached out and pushed the door open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. "This must be it," Tasha whispered. "The place where history sleeps." Amara swallowed hard. "Mama, what if he's here?" Tasha shook her head. "We'll be ready. Stay close." They descended the stairs carefully, the air growing colder and heavier with each step. The flashlight flickered slightly, casting eerie shadows along the walls. At the bottom, they found a small, hidden room. Dust covered the floor, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. In the center of the room was a wooden chest, old and worn, with a lock that looked as if it hadn't been touched in decades. Amara's hands shook as she lifted the box and placed it beside the chest. Tasha examined the lock. "Looks like Grandma prepared this for someone brave enough to follow the clues. Let's see if your key works." Amara nodded and slid the small key from her backpack into the lock. It fit perfectly. She turned it slowly, holding her breath. The lock clicked. Tasha and Amara exchanged a glance. "Open it," Tasha whispered. Amara lifted the lid. Inside were old documents, photographs, and another envelope. She pulled out the envelope and unfolded it carefully. Inside was a note, written in her grandmother's handwriting. If you are reading this, it means you have followed the path correctly. The truth about the fire, the people who wanted to destroy us, and the secret of our family's survival are all here. But beware, danger is closer than you think. Trust your heart, your courage, and each other. Do not let anyone take what is yours. Amara's eyes widened. Mama, this is it. This is everything Grandma left for us. Tasha nodded, her face pale but determined. Yes, but we have to move carefully. Whoever is after this box, they'll know we're close. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the warehouse. A metallic clang, followed by a shadow moving at the edge of the light. Amara's heart raced. Mama, he's here. Tasha grabbed her daughter and held her close. Stay behind me, she whispered. The shadow grew larger, moving closer. Amara's breath caught in her throat. Her small hands clenched the bracelet tightly, feeling the warmth of her grandmother's promise. Then, a voice echoed through the room, low, cold, and menacing. Thought you could hide it from me? Tasha's eyes narrowed. Who are you? She demanded. The figure stepped into the light. A man in black, his face partially covered by a mask. Behind him, more shadows emerged. Others, just as menacing, surrounding the room. Amara squeezed Tasha's hand, fear and determination warring in her chest. Mama, what do we do? Tasha swallowed hard, looking around the room. We protect each other, and we fight if we have to. The man in black smiled faintly, his eyes cold. The box belongs to me, he said, and I will take it, no matter what. Amara held the bracelet tighter, whispering under her breath, Grandma, please help us. In that moment, the shadows advanced, and the room erupted into chaos. The shadows in the warehouse moved closer, circling Tasha and Amara like predators closing in on their prey. Amara's fingers clutched the bracelet, its faint glow almost like a pulse, matching the rapid beat of her own heart. Her chest felt tight, as if fear itself was trying to suffocate her. Tasha held the box tightly, positioning herself between her daughter and the intruders. Stay close, Amara. No matter what, stay behind me, she whispered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The leader, the man in black, stepped forward, his movements slow and deliberate, like he was savoring the fear in their eyes. Hand it over, he demanded, pointing toward the box. You don't know what you're holding. You have no idea what this can do. Amara's knees shook. Mama, what do we do? Tasha inhaled deeply, trying to stay calm. We do exactly what Grandma taught us, baby girl. We stay brave. We stay together. And we don't give in to fear. Amara nodded, swallowing hard. Okay, together. The man in black lunged suddenly, quick as a striking snake, reaching for the box. Tasha swung it behind her, narrowly deflecting his grasp. Amara screamed, instinctively moving closer to her mother. The others in the shadows advanced, circling around them, cutting off any escape. Tasha's mind raced. She could see crates stacked along the walls, metal rods, anything that could give them an advantage. She grabbed a long, rusted pipe from the floor, holding it defensively in front of her. Stay back, she shouted. The intruder hesitated, just for a second, enough for Amara to take a shaky step forward. Her hand brushed the bracelet. The warmth surged through her, and she felt a strange wave of courage. Mama, she whispered, we can do this. We have to do this. Tasha's eyes softened for just a moment. Yes, baby girl. We have to. The intruders attacked in a coordinated wave. Tasha swung the pipe, knocking one of them backward into a stack of crates. Wood splintered and dust filled the air. Amara ducked instinctively, narrowly avoiding a punch from another man. But the chaos didn't stop. One of the attackers grabbed the box, and Tasha lunged forward, wresting it from his hands. Papers flew into the air, swirling like leaves caught in a storm. Amara's heart pounded so loudly she was sure the intruders could hear it. She knew fear alone wouldn't protect them. They had to fight with courage, with intelligence, with the spirit of her grandmother guiding them. Think, Baby girl, Tasha shouted. Use your head. Amara's eyes scanned the room. She noticed a stack of old barrels near the corner. One quick thought came to her. She grabbed one of the barrels and pushed it over, sending it crashing into the attackers. The noise startled them and a few stumbled back. Tasha seized the opportunity to throw the box over her shoulder and sprint toward the staircase leading back up. Go, Amara! Run! Amara ran beside her, heart racing, adrenaline surging. The intruders recovered quickly, but Tasha and Amara were faster. They reached the top of the staircase, stumbling out into the night air, the cool breeze hitting their faces like a shock of relief. They didn't stop running until they reached the car, gasping and shaking. Tasha fumbled with the keys while Amara kept her eyes on the warehouse, half expecting the men to chase them. But there was silence. Only the faint rustling of leaves and distant city noises filled the night. Tasha started the engine. Hold on tight, she said. We're not safe yet. Amara clutched the bracelet, glancing down at its glow. It seemed brighter now, almost pulsing with energy. Grandma, we made it, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Tasha put a hand on her shoulder. Yes, baby girl, but this isn't over. Not yet. They'll come back, and next time, they'll be even more dangerous. They drove in silence, the city lights blurring past. Every dark alley, every shadowed street corner made Amara flinch. She couldn't stop thinking about the intruders, about the man in black, about the danger surrounding them. Mama, she whispered finally, breaking the silence. Why do they want the box so badly? Tasha shook her head. I don't know all of it yet, but whatever is in that box, it's powerful, important, and someone wants it enough to hurt us, to risk everything to get it. Amara thought of her grandmother's words. Trust your heart, your courage, and each other. She realized now that the bracelet wasn't just a symbol of kindness. It was a symbol of protection, of staying connected to the love and wisdom of her grandmother, even in the face of danger. When they got home, Tasha barricaded the doors and windows, making sure every possible entry point was secured. Amara stayed close, keeping the box and journal in her lap. They both knew sleep would be impossible, but exhaustion finally took its toll. They curled up on the couch together, the night outside stretching endlessly, filled with unseen threats. In the dark, Amara whispered softly, Grandma, please help us again. Keep us safe. Tasha stroked her daughter's hair. She will, baby girl. She's always with us. And we'll keep going, no matter what comes. The next morning, the tension didn't ease. Tasha called Mr. Hayes, explaining what had happened at the warehouse. He was furious but calm in his professional way. They're not just after the box anymore, he said. They've realized you're following the trail. They'll escalate their attacks. You need to be ready for anything, and you need a safe place to stay. Somewhere they won't expect you. Tasha nodded, determination hardening her features. We'll find a place, and we'll keep going. We can't let them win. Amara looked down at the bracelet, her fingers tracing the engraving. Don't let her eat alone. The words took on new meaning now. They weren't just about lunchroom kindness. They were about protecting family, standing together, and fighting for what was right. Later that afternoon, Tasha and Amara went through the journal and letters again, searching for more clues. One letter stood out, one that her grandmother had never read aloud to them. The fire was not just an accident. There are those who wanted our family gone, who feared what we would discover. The key, the box, the journal, they all protect the truth. But the truth is dangerous. Be brave and trust in your courage. Trust in each other. Amara shivered. Mama, Grandma warned us. She knew this would happen. Tasha nodded, gripping her daughter's hand. Yes, baby. And now we have to follow her guidance, even when it's hard, even when it's scary. As the evening approached, Tasha prepared for the next step. They couldn't hide forever, and they couldn't let fear stop them from discovering the truth. The clues in the box and journal pointed toward something bigger, something that could explain the fire, the intruders, and the secrets her grandmother had protected for decades. Amara felt the bracelet pulse again, warmth spreading through her hand. It was almost like her grandmother's spirit was encouraging them, telling them they could face whatever came next. But deep down, Amara knew that the next extreme event, something even more dangerous and unexpected, was coming. And when it arrived, there would be no turning back. The night air was thick and heavy as Tasha and Amara drove to the safe house Mr. Hayes had found for them. It was on the outskirts of town, tucked away behind thick trees, far from prying eyes and possible ambushes. Tasha's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white, while Amara clutched the box and journal on her lap. Every few minutes, the bracelet glowed faintly, as if pulsing in warning. "I don't like this, Mama," Amara whispered. "We're running, but it feels like they're always ahead of us." Tasha's jaw tightened. "I know, baby girl, but running isn't giving up. It's buying us time. And while we're safe, we can plan, we can think, and we can figure out the truth." Amara swallowed hard, nodding. I don't want Grandma's secrets to get lost or stolen." "They won't," Tasha promised. "Not while I'm here and not while you're here. We protect them together." If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps us motivated and reminds us that our stories are making a difference in people's lives. The safe house was an old, two-story building with boarded-up windows, surrounded by thick shrubs and an iron fence. It looked abandoned from the outside, exactly what Mr. Hayes had intended. Inside, it was empty but sturdy, with a few old pieces of furniture and a working kitchen. Amara placed the box on the table, dusting it off. The journal lay beside it. Tasha looked around the room, ensuring all entrances were secured. "This will have to do for now. We stay here, and no one comes in unless I say so. Do you understand?" "Yes, Mama," Amara said. Tasha nodded, then looked down at the bracelet. "And this is our connection to Grandma. It's more than a charm. It's a guide. Don't forget that." Amara nodded solemnly, fingers tracing the engraving. "Don't let her eat alone." The words felt heavier than ever now, filled with responsibility and power. Once they had settled in, Tasha and Amara began going through the journal and letters again. They spread everything out on the table, the photographs, letters, and maps. It was exhausting work, but necessary. Every clue, every note, could be a key to understanding the fire, the intruders, and the threat looming over their family. Amara found a letter she hadn't noticed before. It was tucked in a photograph of her mother as a child, holding her grandmother's hand. The note read, "The truth is more dangerous than you imagine. They will come for it. They will try to take what we hold. Be brave. Be smart. Trust your heart. And trust in kindness." Amara shivered. "Mama, they're not just after the box anymore. They want the truth, don't they?" Tasha nodded, her eyes serious. "Yes, whatever Grandma left for us. It's powerful, important. And if it falls into the wrong hands, it could destroy everything. That's why we can't fail." Hours passed as they studied the letters and photographs. Amara noticed a recurring symbol on several of the papers, a rising sun stamped in gold. Her curiosity got the better of her. "Mama, look, the sun symbol keeps appearing. I think it means something. Maybe it's a location or a clue about the people after us." Tasha leaned over, examining the papers. "You're right. Grandma must have left this symbol intentionally. It's probably the next piece of the puzzle. We need to figure out where it leads." They traced the symbol on different maps, comparing it to locations mentioned in the letters. Finally, they pinpointed a location, an old library on the outskirts of town, one that had been abandoned for years. "This has to be it," Tasha said. "If Grandma left a trail, it'll continue there. But we have to be careful. Whoever is after us, they might know we're following the clues." Amara nodded. "We'll go together. Like Grandma said, courage, heart, and each other." The next morning, they prepared for the trip to the abandoned library. Tasha packed the box and journal carefully into her backpack, while Amara carried the bracelet around her wrist. The streets were quiet, the early morning mist curling around streetlights like ghostly fingers. As they drove, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following them. Every few blocks, she thought she saw a shadow moving in a car behind them, but when she blinked, it was gone. "Mama," she whispered. "I think they're watching us again." Tasha's eyes narrowed. "Keep calm. Don't panic. They're watching, yes, but we've been careful. We won't make mistakes." Amara nodded, gripping the bracelet tightly. It pulsed faintly against her skin, almost like a heartbeat of reassurance. When they reached the library, it was as foreboding as they had imagined. The front doors were boarded up, but one side entrance had been left slightly ajar, hidden by overgrown bushes. Tasha signaled for Amara to stay close as they slipped inside. The air was thick with dust, and the smell of mildew made their noses wrinkle. Sunlight filtered through broken windows, casting long, eerie shadows across the floor. Old books lay scattered, some on shelves, some strewn across the floor. Amara shivered. "Mama, it's like no one's been here for decades." "Yes," Tasha said softly, "which is why Grandma wanted us to come here. The clue is hidden where history sleeps. This is it." They moved carefully through the library, following faint marks on the floorboards that matched the symbol of the rising sun. Every creak of the old wood made Amara jump, and she clutched the bracelet tightly. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the library. Amara spun around, heart racing. "Mama! Someone's here." Tasha grabbed her daughter and pulled her behind a row of old shelves. "Stay low," she whispered. The shadows moved. The man in black, along with two others, emerged from the darkness. Their eyes glinted coldly as they scanned the library. "We know you're here," the leader said, his voice echoing. "Give us the box, and this can end peacefully." Tasha's hands tightened around the backpack. "You'll never have it," she said firmly. "This belongs to my family." The man in black smirked. "We'll see about that." Amara felt her chest tighten, fear threatening to overwhelm her. But then the bracelet glowed brighter, warm against her skin. She remembered Grandma's words. Courage, heart, and each other. "Mama," she whispered, "we can do this. Together." Tasha nodded, gripping her daughter's hand. Together. The intruders advanced, stepping carefully among the debris of the abandoned library. Every instinct screamed at Tasha and Amara to run, but they held their ground. They had come this far. They couldn't stop now. Suddenly, one of the intruders lunged for the backpack. Tasha swung her arm, knocking him back into a shelf of falling books. The sound was deafening, dust and debris filling the air. Amara grabbed a nearby metal rod, swinging it with all her strength, sending the second intruder stumbling into the broken window. Glass shattered, raining down around them. The man in black paused, assessing their bravery. "Interesting," he muttered. "You're stronger than I thought. But strength won't save you for long." Amara felt her heart pounding. "Mama, what do we do now?" Tasha looked at her daughter, eyes fierce. "We finish this, baby girl. We find the truth and we protect it. No matter what." Outside, the wind howled through broken windows. Inside, the library seemed to close in on them, shadows twisting with every movement. Amara clutched the bracelet, feeling her grandmother's presence with her, guiding her. And then, the leader made his move, charging toward them with a speed that made Amara's stomach drop. Tasha braced herself, standing in front of her daughter. "Hold on, Amara." The room erupted into chaos once again, the fight for Grandma's secrets reaching a new, terrifying peak. The chaos inside the abandoned library was deafening. Books toppled from the shelves as the man in black lunged at Tasha, his eyes cold and unyielding. Amara's hands trembled around the bracelet, its glow pulsing in response to her fear. She stayed crouched behind a broken shelf, watching every movement, her heart hammering in her chest. "Mama, he's too strong," she cried, fear rising with each second. Tasha gritted her teeth, swinging the metal rod she had grabbed earlier. "Stay back, Amara. Remember what Grandma taught us." The man in black hesitated for a moment, calculating, and then lunged again. Tasha dodged, but the force of his movement sent her stumbling into a shelf, scattering books and dust into the air. Amara coughed, her vision blurred, but she stayed low, gripping the bracelet as if it were the only thing keeping her grounded. Suddenly, the intruder's accomplices moved in, circling them from either side. Amara's heart sank. "Mama, we can't fight them all." Tasha grabbed her daughter's hand. "We don't have to fight all of them. We have to fight smart. Follow my lead." Amara nodded, though her fear made it almost impossible to think clearly. She glanced around the library, scanning for anything they could use. Her eyes landed on a loose chain hanging from a broken light fixture. An idea sparked. "Mama, the chain. We can use it," she shouted. Tasha followed her gaze. "Yes, but be careful, Amara. We have to do this together." Amara nodded. She stood and grabbed the chain, swinging it with all her strength toward the nearest intruder. The man in black's accomplice was caught off guard, staggering back into a stack of crates that toppled with a loud crash. The distraction gave Tasha the moment she needed to grab the box from her backpack and shield it with her body. The leader snarled, his eyes narrowing. "Clever, but clever won't save you." He lunged again, faster this time, aiming for the box. Tasha swung the metal rod, catching him across the arm. He hissed in pain but didn't stop. Amara felt a surge of courage. She stepped forward, swinging the chain at the second intruder, knocking him off balance. The third attacker lunged at Tasha from behind, but Amara shouted a warning, giving her mother just enough time to sidestep. They were holding their own, but only barely. The intruders were skilled, coordinated, and relentless. Every second felt like hours, and Amara could feel the weight of her grandmother's legacy pressing down on her. Then, a sudden, unexpected noise distracted everyone. A loud crashing sound from the roof. Dust and debris fell as part of the ceiling gave way, startling the intruders. For a moment, everyone froze. Tasha seized the opportunity. "Run, Amara! Go!" she shouted. Amara clutched the bracelet and box, running toward the back exit as fast as she could. Tasha followed, fighting off any intruders who tried to grab her. The warehouse-like library seemed endless, shadows twisting and stretching as they ran. Outside, the cold night air hit them like a wall. Amara gasped for breath, clutching the box tightly. Tasha held her close, shielding her from the intruders who had spilled out behind them. "Keep moving," Tasha urged, pulling Amara toward the car. They barely made it to the car when the leader of the group charged, tackling Tasha to the ground. The box slipped from her hands, skidding across the asphalt. Amara screamed. "No!" she cried, diving forward and grabbing the box. Her small arms wrapped around it tightly, and she held it like a shield. The man in black snarled, lunging for her, but Tasha recovered, swinging a tire iron with a fierce determination that left the intruder staggering. Amara felt the warmth of the bracelet surge, almost like a wave of energy flowing through her. She held the box higher, and for a moment, it was as if her grandmother's presence was there, guiding and protecting her. Tasha grabbed Amara's hand. "Run! To the car! Now!" They sprinted across the parking lot, jumping into the car. Tasha started the engine, tires screeching as they sped away from the library and the intruders. Behind them, shadows moved in the darkness, but they were gone for now. Inside the car, both of them gasped for breath, the adrenaline slowly subsiding but fear still gripping their hearts. Amara clutched the box, her eyes wide. "Mama, they almost took it. They almost got Grandma's secrets." Tasha put a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "I know, baby girl, but we protected it, and we protected each other. That's what matters." Amara nodded, feeling a mix of relief and lingering fear. "Mama, we have to be more careful. They'll come again. They always come again." "Yes," Tasha said grimly, "but we're ready. We've learned from every step, every clue, every attack. We'll find the truth, and we'll protect it no matter what." They drove for hours, avoiding main roads and any potential followers. The city lights faded behind them, replaced by quiet country roads and the stillness of night. Tasha and Amara stayed silent, both lost in thought. Finally, Tasha spoke. Amara, we can't just keep running forever. We need a plan. We need allies. People we can trust. Amara's brow furrowed. Allies? Like who? Everyone could be working for them. Tasha shook her head. Not everyone. But we'll have to be smart. Careful. We can't trust easily, but we also can't do this alone. Amara held the bracelet tightly. I'll trust you, Mama. You and Grandma. And together we'll figure it out. Tasha nodded, a small smile breaking through her tension. Yes, baby girl. Together, always. They arrived at another safe location. A small cabin Mr. Hayes had arranged, hidden deep in the woods. It was secluded, with only the sounds of wind and trees around them. Inside, they could finally catch their breath, though the tension never fully left their bodies. Tasha secured the doors and windows once again, placing the box and journal on a sturdy table. Amara sat beside it, tracing the edges, feeling the weight of her grandmother's legacy. Mama, she whispered, we survived again, but they'll come back. And next time might be worse. Tasha took her daughter's hand. I know, but we're stronger than they think. And as long as we have each other, we'll face whatever comes. Amara looked down at the bracelet, warmth radiating through her palm. Grandma, please help us again. Give us courage. Tasha hugged her daughter tightly. She will, baby girl. She's always with us. And we'll finish what she started. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. Shadows danced in the moonlight, hints of movement that made Amara's heart race. They weren't safe yet, not by a long shot. But they had survived another attack, and the box, the journal, and the bracelet remained with them. The firestorm of danger wasn't over. The final confrontation, the one that would reveal the truth and test every ounce of courage they had, was still ahead. And neither Tasha nor Amara knew how close the enemy already was. The forest around the cabin was quiet, almost too quiet. The wind rustled the leaves, and the moon cast pale light through the branches. But other than that, there was nothing, except for the feeling of being watched. Tasha stood by the window, peering into the darkness, while Amara sat on the couch clutching the bracelet and the box. The air inside the cabin was thick with tension. Every creak and groan of the old would making Amara jump. Mama, they're coming again, aren't they? Amara whispered, fear threading through her voice. Tasha shook her head slightly, trying to remain calm. I don't know when, baby girl, but I know we'll be ready. We've made it this far, haven't we? And we'll make it further. Together. Amara nodded, hugging her knees. I don't want to lose the box, Mama. Grandma trusted us with it. Tasha knelt beside her and brushed a lock of hair from her face. We won't lose it, Amara. Grandma's spirit is with us, and so is yours. Courage, heart, and each other. That's our shield. The bracelet glowed faintly on Amara's wrist, warm against her skin. She gripped it tightly, feeling her grandmother's presence guiding her. They spent the day preparing. Tasha reinforced the doors and windows as best she could, stacking old furniture and boxes to create barriers. Amara helped quietly, her small hands steady despite the fear. They organized the box, making sure the journal and letters were secure, and kept the bracelet close at all times. As evening fell, the forest grew darker, the shadows longer and more menacing. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. Tasha placed her hand on Amara's shoulder. Tonight, we need to be vigilant. Whoever is after us, they won't stop until they have the box. But we won't give it to them. Not ever. Amara nodded, her grip tightening on the bracelet. I'm ready, Mama. Hours passed in tense silence. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, a distant animal call, the crack of a branch, made them flinch. The forest seemed alive with unseen eyes, and every shadow could be a threat. Suddenly, a loud snap echoed through the trees outside. Amara froze, clutching the bracelet. Mama, they're here. Tasha grabbed her daughter's hand, her eyes sharp. Stay behind me, she whispered. They could hear movement outside, the crunch of boots on leaves, whispers too low to understand. Someone was circling the cabin. Tasha held the box tightly, positioning herself between Amara and the door. Then, without warning, the door burst open. The man in black, flanked by two accomplices, stormed inside. "You've run long enough," he snarled, eyes cold and calculating. "The box is ours." Tasha stepped forward, swinging the metal rod she had kept ready. "Not today," she shouted. "Not ever." Amara ducked behind the couch, clutching the bracelet as if it could protect her. But then something inside her shifted. She remembered every lesson her grandmother had taught her. Kindness, courage, trust, and heart. She realized that fear alone couldn't save them. Only action could. "Mama, we can do this," she whispered. Tasha glanced at her daughter, eyes wide. "Yes, baby girl. Together." Amara took a deep breath and stood, holding the bracelet out toward the intruders. The warm glow spread through the room, almost like a shield. The man in black lunged, but the bracelet pulsed brighter, and for a brief moment, his movements seemed slowed, as if the light forced him to hesitate. Tasha seized the opportunity, swinging the rod and knocking the nearest accomplice into a pile of chairs. Amara followed, swinging the chain she had used before to push the other one back. Chaos erupted inside the cabin. The fight was fierce. Tasha and Amara moved with precision, defending the box and each other, every strike calculated, every dodge necessary. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows, as if nature itself was aware of the struggle inside. Amara felt the warmth of the bracelet intensify, filling her with courage. She remembered the words, "Trust your heart, your courage, and each other." With that, she acted quickly, grabbing a lantern from the table and swinging it to knock the leader off balance. He stumbled, giving Tasha the chance to push him back toward the door. Together, mother and daughter pressed forward, their unity unbreakable. Every strike, every move was synchronized. They weren't just defending themselves, they were defending their grandmother's legacy. Suddenly, the man in black lunged one last time, desperate and furious. Amara stood her ground, holding the bracelet high. The glow flared brilliantly, filling the room with a warm, golden light. The intruder's eyes widened, and for a moment, everything froze. It was as if her grandmother's spirit was in the room, guiding them, protecting them. The intruders stumbled back, disoriented by the brilliance and warmth. Tasha took a deep breath and lunged, pushing the leader out the door and slamming it shut behind him. The other two, frightened and confused, fled into the night, disappearing into the shadows. Amara dropped to her knees, clutching the box and the bracelet, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, we did it." Tasha sank beside her, holding her tightly. "Yes, baby girl, we did it. We protected it. We protected each other. Grandma would be so proud." The cabin was silent now, the only sound their ragged breaths and the wind whispering through the trees. Outside, the forest seemed calmer, almost peaceful, as if acknowledging their victory. Amara held the bracelet close, warmth radiating through her. She felt her grandmother's presence stronger than ever, as if she were sitting beside them, smiling proudly. "Mama, do you think it's finally over?" Amara whispered. Tasha shook her head gently. "I don't know, baby girl. There may always be people who want what isn't theirs. But we survived. We proved our courage. And we have each other. That's what matters most." Amara smiled through her tears. Yes, together. They spent the rest of the night going through the journal and letters one last time. Every secret, every clue, every lesson from their grandmother was preserved. The box remained safe beside them, a symbol of their resilience, their courage, and their love. By morning, the forest seemed to glow with the first light of dawn, the shadows retreating. Tasha and Amara stepped outside, taking a deep breath of fresh air. The world felt larger, more open, filled with possibilities now that the danger had passed. Amara held the bracelet to her heart. "Grandma, we kept your promise. We didn't let anyone take it, and we stayed brave." Tasha hugged her tightly. "Yes, baby girl. and we always will. That's the legacy she left us. Courage, heart, and kindness. We'll carry it forever. As they stood together, mother and daughter, the sun rose over the forest, bathing everything in golden light. The danger was gone, but the lessons remained. The box, the bracelet, and the journal were safe, and the promise of kindness, courage, and empathy lived on, stronger than ever. The journey wasn't just about protecting secrets. It was about learning the power of love, unity, and the strength that comes when hearts stay true, even in the face of fear. Tasha and Amara had faced shadows, danger, and uncertainty, and they had emerged victorious. Together, they were unstoppable. Thank you for watching. If you found this story engaging, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective adds value to the conversation. To stay updated with future stories exploring themes of race, inequality, and the unexpected choices that shape lives, please consider subscribing to this channel. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful and thought-provoking content.